Hi, and welcome. I'm Dan Backhouse from Salsita Software, and we are here today to talk about why do you need QA. First, a quick introduction and overview of Salsita Software. We develop web and mobile applications and solutions, and we offer services from beginning to end. So starting from analysis and requirements gathering, UX design, through development, and all the way through to testing, QA, marketing support, and growth hacking. And I'm joined today by my colleague Pavel, who is going to talk about why QA plays such a critical role in this process. Pavel?
Yes, then, thank you. So I'm Pavel Cibel. I'm a QA lead here at Salsita, and apart from testing, I manage a team of great and talented testers and QA engineers. So, to the topic of this webinar, the question, why do you need quality assurance at all? I must say, during my career, I had to answer this question quite a lot of times in many forms, like, do we need QA at all? How much QA? And stuff like this. And usually it comes down to explaining what QA means and what we do, because there are different ideas and expectations. So that's why we are here as well to talk about these things and how do we do them at Salsita. Like one statement that I also hear quite often is that we don't need QA. Let's just make sure that developers make sure that they don't produce any bugs and that they test their own code and don't do any mistakes. And don't get me wrong, I'm all for it. I'm all for developers testing. I also believe that developers should test their code. Uh, and in an ideal world, it could work, but unfortunately, we live in a real world, and developers are humans after all. Even though talented and bright, genius, what have you, but they still do mistakes, and QA is here to make sure that everything works fine. And uh, one part of our job is to fix, or not fix, but just to verify that they don't do the mistakes and point out to them. Another thing that I don't like that much about the statement about bug-free software and quality is that sometimes people connect those things too much. Quality means zero bugs. I really don't agree with that statement. It's maybe part of it, but the quality is somewhere else and something else. So let me briefly talk about how we see quality and what do we think it is. Uh, Quality, first of all, it's a subjective, right? You and I, we both perceive some things as a different quality. It's kind of hard sometimes to explain why I think something is more, it's better than something else. But let's say that the quality is the value that something brings to the end user. Something, I mean, like the product idea or the software that we are producing, or how effectively does it help the end user to solve his problems. So and but how do we assure such a thing? Let me illustrate it quite literally on example. If you are given assignment, hey, test an elevator, verify that there is a quality. By the way, this is one of the sample questions that a lot of QA engineers or aspiring QA engineers get during their interviews. Like, hey, how would you test an elevator? And I must say, I heard a lot of creative, up to crazy things. Like some people would mash all the buttons, try to press them all at once and see whether how it works. Some people would even try to hit the elevator with a sledgehammer or with a wrecking ball. Okay, that's fine, but that's not of the quality. You need to see the bigger picture. You need to first ask yourself, where will the elevator be? What is the building? What people will be using it? What are their needs? Will they be traveling alone, or will they be carrying large boxes, for example. That's like one idea from furniture store where they have really big elevators, and if there will be nice but small elevator, you wouldn't call it a quality service. So you really need to analyze all those things. You need to understand the users. You need to see and know their demands, and they are the ones that in the end say, we have a quality elevator in our building. Of course, Salsita is not creating elevators. We create web applications and mobile applications, but you can apply the very same principles there. In order to say that there is quality, you need to understand the target audience. You need to know, for example, the competition and what will be the difference in your own product. So, and those things, really, QA needs to understand them, need to realize what they are in order to test it properly and say, hey, yes, it's there, and the quality is there. It's, again, repeat, it's not, we have 0 bugs. That means the software is great and there is a lot of quality. Doesn't work like this. I would also say that there are mainly 3 things that can influence the quality. One of them is the code itself, produced by the developers, and we are kind of used to test this. QA is testing the code by developers because developers can do mistakes. Another important thing, I believe, is the process itself, the development process and the release process, which is, of course, mainly controlled by, let's say, project manager or some agile scrum master, but they are people too, and even they are doing their best, they can sometimes make a mistake as well. So QA should be at least aware of the project, process. Why did we choose this type of release process, for example? And isn't there a better solution? We should still keep asking those questions and oversee this part of the product delivery as well. And the third part is the business. I mean, like the product itself. And also, we should understand why some decisions are made. For example, if the business analyst or some product owner says, "Hey, now we will focus on this feature because people demands it," and you should also be asking, like, "Hey, do you have some data to back this up?" And if yes, okay, we agreed it's a priority and we will focus our testing in this way as well. But we should be part of the process. So with that said, another question that I hear quite often is when do we need QA? Now, after what we talk about, let's agree that we really need QA. We agree that QA will be there, but what's the right or what's the correct start when we should start working on it? And originally, I remember back then in the waterfall days where they were really like separate phases. There was like requirement gathering, development, QA, and then maybe some bumper for bug fixes. But this really never worked as expected. Usually the problem was that the QA got introduced to the project really late and started to ask questions that could be answered much sooner, right? And if we found any bugs in this later phase, it was quite complicated to fix them. Developers maybe didn't even remember their code. It was a long time ago when they work on it, and then by fixing some bugs, they introduced new ones, and the release date was slipping, and there was a lot of stress and nothing pretty. Therefore, we believe in this agile approach and the shift left approach, where we actually really on the timeline shift the QA phase left up to the start of the project, because we truly believe that the ideal start for the QA is really day one of the project, where you can start, getting familiar with the product, with the team itself and with the client, start to discuss your cooperation and how we will communicate our effort, how we will plan, for example, the testing, how we will deliver our results. Those things need to be set up, and they can evolve, but they needs to be set up at the day one. And therefore, we really believe and think that QA has a part on the project the whole time, because it needs to be the integral part of the team, not just some separated unit that sits somewhere and just waits for the developers to give them the product and here test it. No, it really doesn't work. I've been there. So now just to go through the services that we can offer and that we do here. So first of all, of course, there is a functional testing. We need to verify that the product is doing what it's supposed to do, and we can focus, for example, on individual features, individual modules, and test them in isolation and verify really they are doing what they're supposed to do, that they are ideally bug-free. But then we also need to like zoom out and see the product as a whole, verify that all those small parts clicks together, and that the product is working from the start to the end. And even like third-party integrations are working, and that's the whole like system level testing. Of course, what can be automated, we try to automate. We are using modern JavaScript frameworks for this, and if it's worth it and if it's effective, we kind of automate the boring parts, I would say. But of course, you still need the human touch in many cases. Sometimes we don't do automation, whether it's too slow, or maybe sometimes it's really hard to automate some things, and really you need a manual tester to verify this. This can be applied also for the mobile testing, where we still use a lot of manual testing approach, being it on real devices that we have here in the office, or we are using emulators both for manual testing and for the automation. And for that purpose, we also use like third-party cloud services, where they offer a lot of devices, like real devices in their remote farms. So that's we are kind of familiar with and work with it on daily basis. Another thing, as I said, the quality is subjective. So who are you as a single tester on the project to tell that you are right and you are correct? Therefore, we are performing like user testing, where we work with larger group of people and gather their feedback on the application, and they then take it into consideration. It can be either organized, really targeted user testing for example, new feature and gather feedback for it. We also work with users when we release our products to either some beta testing phase, or even in production, we still monitor and gather data from the real users using, for example, Google Analytics, and see what's working and what's not. And again, QA should definitely need to have these data and understand how users are working with your product. From the non-functional requirements, there is very often, and now more than ever, I would say, like the security requirements, where we really need to make sure that our application is secure and that it follows security standards, and that we test according to like standardized security testing guides. And of course, this is an area that will be never ending. You still need to learn new stuff to be aware of current threats. And again, both you need to train people in this matter, and we are also using automated tools to, for example, check our dependencies, that there are no known vulnerabilities, and that there are libraries that we are using in our product are up to date and secure. And of course, also very important part of the application is its performance. You can have really nice and very well working application, but if it's slow and laggy and eventually hangs up, you will be losing users left and right, because of course the quality will suffer. So therefore, we perform a lot of performance testing of all aspects of the application, being in front-end performance, back-end, and we monitor our products in production, and sees when, for example, the performance goes down. We make sure that there are alerts and logging in place, so we know about this and can react to it accordingly. And I believe that's all. That's a summary of how we work, and I hope you like it and that we will have a chance to eventually work together. And so that's from me. Back to them.
Great job, Pavel. Thank you. That's a wrap.
Okay. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.